bottom of the ocean, something moves that looks like it shouldn't exist anymore. It crawls slowly across the seabed, armored like a relic from another age, its body segmented and rigid, built like a creature frozen in time rather than one still alive. It doesn't chase anything. It doesn't hunt in bursts of speed. It doesn't react the way most life does. It waits. The giant isopod has survived in one of the harshest environments on Earth for millions of years, and not in the way most species survive. It hasn't evolved dramatically. It hasn't adapted into something unrecognizable. It hasn't become faster, smarter, or more aggressive. It has simply continued, and that is what makes it one of the most disturbing creatures in the ocean. Because in a world where survival depends on constant change, this creature has proven that sometimes not changing at all is the most powerful strategy. It is not just surviving the deep ocean, it is outlasting it, built for pressure, not speed. The giant isopod does not look like a dominant animal. There is nothing about it that suggests speed or aggression. Its movement is slow, deliberate, almost mechanical, but its design reveals something far more important than power. It is built to endure. Its exoskeleton forms a protective shell made of overlapping plates, creating a structure that distributes pressure evenly across its body. At depths where pressure can exceed hundreds of times what humans experience at the surface, this is not optional. It is essential. Most creatures would collapse under such force. Internal structures would fail, cells would break down, movement would become impossible. But the giant isopod does not resist the pressure. It exists within it. Its body is adapted so completely to these conditions that the crushing force of the deep ocean is no longer a threat. It is simply the environment, and once pressure is no longer a problem, survival becomes much simpler, a world where food does not exist. The deep ocean is not just dark, it is empty. Not empty of water, not empty of space, but empty of energy. There is no sunlight, no plant life, no steady production of food. Everything that exists here depends on what falls from above. Fragments of dead organisms drift downwards slowly, sometimes taking days or weeks to reach the ocean floor. This is known as marine snow, and it is not enough. For most creatures, it is barely survivable. For many, it is not survivable at all, but the giant isopod has adapted to a reality that most life cannot tolerate. It does not depend on regular feeding. It does not expect consistency. It does not need abundance. It has evolved to exist in absence, the ability to starve without dying. This is where the giant isopod separates itself from almost every other organism in the ocean. It can survive without food for extreme periods of time, not days, not weeks, years. There have been documented cases where giant isopods in controlled environments survived for over 5 years without eating, and this is not a malfunction. This is not stress. This is normal. Its metabolism is incredibly slow, reducing energy consumption to a level that seems almost impossible. Every movement is calculated, every action is minimal. It does not burn energy unnecessarily. It does not waste resources. It simply reduces its needs to almost zero, and when an organism needs almost nothing, it becomes nearly impossible to eliminate the moment food appears. But when food does arrive, everything changes. The slow, passive creature becomes something else entirely. It becomes focused. Its antennae begin to move more actively, detecting chemical signals in the water. It senses the presence of organic material before it can see it. And then it moves. Not fast, but with purpose. When it reaches the food, it does not hesitate. It feeds aggressively, consuming as much as possible in a single event. Its body expands as it eats, stretching beyond what seems structurally possible. This is not overeating. This is survival strategy. Because the giant isopod does not know when the next opportunity will come. And when it does come, it must be enough. A design that time cannot break. Most species are constantly forced to adapt. Environments change, temperatures shift, predators evolve, and species must respond. But the deep ocean is different. It is one of the most stable environments on Earth. Temperature remains nearly constant. Light does not exist. Pressure does not fluctuate, and because the environment does not change, the need to adapt disappears. The giant isopod reached a point where it was perfectly suited to its surroundings. And once that happens, evolution slows down, not because it stops, but because there is no pressure to change. This is why the giant isopod appears ancient, because in many ways it is. It is not outdated, it is complete. Almost nothing hunts it. In most ecosystems, survival depends on avoiding predators. But in the deep sea, predators are limited. Energy is too scarce to support constant hunting. Movement is too expensive. Aggression is not always efficient. This reduces the number of threats. And the giant isopod takes advantage of that. Its armored body provides protection. Its slow movement avoids attention. Its ability to remain still reduces exposure. It does not need to escape danger. It simply avoids becoming a target. And in the deep ocean, that is often enough. The strategy of doing less. Most life forms are built around action. Movement, hunting, reacting, adapting. The giant isopod is built around inaction. It does less, consumes less, moves less, needs less, and this creates a strange advantage. Because in an environment where energy is limited, doing less becomes survival. While other organisms struggle to meet their needs, the giant isopod reduces its needs entirely. It is not competing in the same system. It is operating outside of it. Time becomes the advantage. Imagine the ocean floor in complete darkness. A large carcass sinks slowly from above. It lands softly, disturbing the sediment. Within hours, movement begins. Creatures emerge, feeding quickly, consuming what they can before moving on. But the giant isopod does not rush. It arrives, feeds, stops, waits, feeds again. It does not try to win immediately. It waits for everything else to leave, and then it continues. Because time is on its side. Why it just won't die? The giant isopod does not dominate its environment. It does not control it. It survives it. And that difference is everything. Because survival is not always about strength. It is about persistence. It has no dependency on frequent food. No reliance on light, no vulnerability to rapid environmental change. It is built for stability, and stability is extremely difficult to disrupt. The deep ocean's most reliable survivor. There are creatures in the ocean that are faster, stronger, more complex, more intelligent, but very few are as consistent. Because while other species rise and fall, the giant isopod remains, not because it is superior in every way, but because it is optimized for survival. The stillness that wins. In the end, the giant isopod does not resist extinction through power. It does not fight. It does not evolve rapidly. It does not dominate its environment. It endures. It waits. It survives conditions that eliminate more demanding species, and that is why it persists. Because in the deep ocean, the one that survives is not the fastest or the strongest, but the one that can last the longest. And the giant isopod has mastered that completely, which is why, after millions of years, it is still there, moving slowly, waiting patiently, and refusing to disappear.